This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, March 19th from Sarasota, Florida. I'm Seth Johnson, and welcome to the HomeTech Podcast all about all aspects of home technology and home automation. This week, we've got to dive into a couple of HomeTech headlines and some sad news from Apple. And of course, we've got a nice pick of the week. But first, I do want to quickly chat about, remind everyone, and I guess if you're listening to the podcast, you probably have missed out on it, but we're doing our first Home Tech Talk tomorrow, which is Thursday. So today is Wednesday, which is St. Paddy's Day. So happy St. Paddy's Day. Tomorrow is Thursday, and on Thursday around 3 p.m. Eastern, we'll have our first Home Tech Talk. We're going to be talking about video distribution. We're going to talk about a couple of product launches that happened this week, a couple of Q&A, but mostly around video distribution and what versus streaming. Like is what's the relevance of a video distribution system right now in streaming? What are the advantages or disadvantages of having something like that? I think overall it'll be a pretty good conversation. Also talking about like what products work, what don't, that kind of thing. So excited to have that, finally sit down and have that conversation among peers. I still have a video distribution system in my house, and it's funny. It's like I've got a 1x4. How many TVs do I have? 3 TVs. I guess I have a 1x4 technically, but it's like an IP video distribution system. I don't actually need what I have, but I have it. And there's a couple reasons it's convenient for me, and I'll save that for the conversation tomorrow. So with that, let's get started with the HomeTech headlines. Oh boy. So hold on, gotta play the sad music here. All right. So, dearly beloved, we're gathered here this day to mourn the loss of our dear friend in a can, Siri in a can. And you played music from a single source of music, but you did it well. Not well enough for me to subscribe to that garbage Apple Music app, because I wasn't going to use that app at all. And Spotify has the app experience nailed a lot more. AirPlay 2 is buggy, and God forbid Apple ever let you do a stereo pair of one of the best Apple speakers ever made on your Mac computer. God forbid they ever let you do that. That would be right out wrong. And they never gave you a proper iOS app. They lumped you in with all the other home automation products and light switches. But you still sounded great. You looked great. Except for that power cord. Probably could have used a detachable power cable. Would have been nice. One of those would be nice things, right? I could have used that. But may the HomePod rest in peace. That's right. After 4 years on the market, Apple has decided to discontinue the original HomePod. The company says it will continue to produce and focus on the HomePod Mini. There we go, which was introduced last year. In a statement to Matthew Panzarino at TechCrunch, the company said, quote, "The HomePod Mini has been a hit since its debut last fall, offering customers amazing sound, an intelligent assistant, a smart home control, all for just $99. We're focused on our efforts on HomePod Mini and discontinuing the original HomePod. It will continue to be available while supplies last." Most of what I heard from people about the HomePod was that it was too expensive. Even though I think similar products like Sonos ran around the same price point. And it was never quite right for competing with other products in that category. So like if you put it up against a Sonos, like Sonos did have like the Amazon and Google integrations, but if you put it up against a Sonos, like, well, you got more out of the Sonos because it gave you more sources. Like Sonos has a ton of sources, both like even commercial and residential now. So like I think the HomePod's a great product, but man, they were really hamstrung. You know, I kind of joked around there in the beginning, but like it really didn't do much other than play Apple Music, and Apple Music was just a garbage experience. So of course this flagship product wasn't going to sell great. I don't know. It just wasn't the right product for the category. It was a huge swing and a miss, I think. Gavin saying that HomePod was just too expensive, even though it sounded good. Yeah, I agree. It's a great little product. Just probably I guess we knew it was not long for the world once Apple stopped updating it very much. So Apple did lower the price on the thing, gave it a permanent price reduction in 2019 to $299. So I guess that was kind of like the writing on the wall. And again, too expensive for the limited features that they offered. Had they implemented Spotify in any meaningful way or other music services, heck, Pandora, I think it would have been a much bigger hit, and maybe fix some of the reliability issues around AirPlay 2. I still use it, I would say, every day. I use the HomePods. I have two here in the office garage with me right now. One of them is on my desk. One of them's over there on a far away desk. And I have a projector set up here with a fake screen on my garage door, the back of my garage door. So, whenever we want to watch something on Netflix, I just power up the Apple TV that's connected to it, and just HomePod, Apple AirPlay 2 over to the Apple HomePods. And it sounds great out here. Like, having the speaker that sounds great directly on your desk, it really helps with hearing things and hearing what's going on with dialogue and that kind of thing. It's great bass response. It's a great sounding product. Absolutely great sounding product. Just a huge miss on the services that accompanied it. And I think it was just really hamstrung by the product managers inside Apple. Like, they really needed to open this product up to more than Apple Music. It really could have done a lot more for them for what it was. So Siri in a coffee can, we'll miss you. We'll miss you. But you're going to live on my desk until its actual dying days. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but hopefully a long, long time from now, considering how much I paid for that. Quick mention of an Apple event that was announced on March 23rd. So keep an eye out for that. I doubt they'll have any new HomePod announcements on it. I think it's going to be more based around I don't even know. They've got a strange announcement. It said something about hair, but I haven't really looked into it. I've heard rumors that they're going to release the new those AirTag things that they've been talking about for a long time. So we'll see. It's always fun to follow Apple rumors and predict what they're going to launch, and whatever writing's on the wall. But sometimes they surprise you. And if they come out with a new HomePod Pro to replace this one at a lower price point that does more, they're just not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. This product was at a great price point if it had done more, and it just couldn't support itself at that price point. The quality is so far above and beyond what the little HomePod Mini was. I know that I kind of like poo-pooed a little bit on the HomePod Mini when it came out. I still use that every day, just kind of like trigger automation, at night when I'm going to sleep, turning off lights in the house and that kind of thing. And it works marginally well for that. There's some Wemo switches that I have configured in the system that seem to drop networking every couple of days. So, if that stuff was more reliable, the HomePod answers every time. If that stuff was more reliable, I think I'd have a better experience with it. But again, the audio off of it, even the voice assistant's audio off of it's not all that great compared to what I have sitting on my desk here, which produces nice, deep, rich sound. It sounds like a $300 speaker. It really does. It blows the Play 3s that I have laying around the house out of the water, in my opinion. But the Play 3s I can actually use. I can actually play music out of them. So, not to spend too much longer on this, but we will miss you, HomePod. Rest in peace there. We should probably just move on though. So, and speaking of Apple, the company is looking at expanding its functionality of HomeKit with new modular wall units to replace light switches. According to a patent granted to the company, Apple outlines a way that could allow consumers to, quote, more easily customize, scale, and reconfigure their homes in a more effortless and user-friendly manner, for whatever that means. I mean, I guess you can just get a patent for anything these days. The system centers around what seems to be smart outlets, fixtures, and could include technologies such as radar, Wi-Fi, ultrasonic communications, or, now this is interesting, ultra wideband communication. So UWB, that was announced a while back, and there's only a couple products that actually have that in there. The iPhone 11 and 12s have them, And I think the Series 6 watches have them as well. And supposedly these AirTags have it as well. So this is, if you have two iPhone 12s right now, or an iPhone 11 and iPhone 12, and you do an AirDrop to somebody, you can actually hold your phone up, kind of like in a vertical position, and kind of move it around the room. And when your phone is aiming at that person, it clicks. You'll feel it physically click, and you'll see the little picture shine, for the person you're pointing at. So that's what this ultra wideband technology can do. And think about that. Think about it when it goes to these AirTag things. If you're looking for lost keys or whatever, and you got one of these tags on there, you can move your phone around your house and it'll point you in the right direction of your lost keys that are probably underneath the cushions of the couch. But think of it when it comes to setting up a home system. You could, you could install a bunch of smart outlets in your house, and then it's okay, it's time to go set them up. Now they have the NFC and you can go tap on them. But what if they had the ultra wide band in there and you don't have to go tap to the things? You can just kind of move your phone around on the wall and boop, it centers on that product and picks it up. I think that's an encouraging thing. I think that's a really cool piece of the puzzle that for at least onboarding and adopting new products, making it easier for more people to put it in. It could allow that part of the operation to go a little bit better. And then, even thinking about from a controls perspective, it would be really neat to have ultra wideband in a bunch of different products where you could just kind of aim your phone around the room, or maybe even your watch one day. This is built into the watches as well. Maybe you could just hold your wrist up and say, turn that light on over there, and it knows what light you're talking about because you're facing that way. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Of course, you have to the last line of this article here that we'll link to in the show notes. Apple files numerous patents applications on a weekly basis. So patents are a poor indicator of or when a particular feature or technology will actually make it to market. So fun to talk about, but maybe not always a leading indicator of what's actually going to happen next. So Sonos has partnered with Audi to equip automakers Q4 e-tron with sound, a first for the California-based audio company, best known for home speakers. The news was confirmed Tuesday by Sonos CEO Patrick Spence after Audi published images of the Q4 e-tron interior showing the Sonos logo. So on the door panel itself, instead of saying Bang & Olufsen or whatever, it says Sonos. That's kind of cool. Here we go from a quote from Patrick Spence. We want it to be in all the different categories of audio, and a big chunk of that is in auto. Our first partnership of bringing our sound experience to automobiles is with Audi. It's not a bad partnership. I think Audi is especially the Q4 cars. Those tend to be like the Apple of cars. They have all sorts of features. Audi doesn't seem to be scared of putting a computer in a car and letting do what a computer is supposed to do. So not a bad partner. With the announcement, Sonos joins a long list of audio companies that have made the jump to autos, including Bose, B&W, and Bang & Olufsen. The partnerships are seen as a way for home audio companies to diversify revenue sources and for automakers to use brands known for premium audio to sway your buying decision. So kind of an interesting story. I like the partnership. I like what it could possibly mean for Sonos in the future. You could get a Ford one day and have a premium Sonos audio system. I think this is kind of like the road for Sonos, in my opinion. Sonos should be branching out into different market spaces. There's no reason that they should end with home audio when they offer such a decent. And I say decent, the app could be better. I trash the app every chance I get, but they do offer a great experience, and the ability to group all of your music sources together and not live in these silos is actually really nice. And it's a feature missing from a lot of home audio products these days, especially in the consumer space. Sonos really lets you do what you want with the gear when you buy it. And that's, I've always found that quite nice. So something to keep an eye on. Hopefully it would be nice to see Sonos built into TVs, right? You just have the Sonos in there. Maybe you'll get a nice screensaver, kind of like what they do with the music choice channels on your on your TV if you have cable, you have those music channels. Why not have that with Sonos? Have the Sonos app, have it as another endpoint in your audio chain at the house, and play music out that way. All right, with its latest Nest Hub, Google has added a surprise feature that could make the smart display more helpful or more creepy, depending on how you look at it. The second generation Nest Hub has a solely radar sensor that detects motion, and it uses that data to determine if you're asleep. And so, a quick history on Soli. It was a product that was part of Google's advanced technology projects division, and it uses radar to detect motion at various scales. So it was first implemented on a mainstream level back in the Pixel 4, and you could actually wave your hand over the phone, and that allowed you to unlock it or wake it up. And then I think it's also in the Nest thermostat, like the latest Nest thermostat, and it helps recognize if someone's in the room. So kind of a broad range of uses of a radar technology, kind of a cool idea. So what they're doing with this solely will allow the device to watch you while you sleep. And I put that in quotes because it's not using a camera. Like there's no camera on this product at all. They've removed the camera completely. So less creep factor there, but this radar can watch you sleep too. Google is calling this feature sleep sensing, and it's totally opt-in. You'll need to set the display up within a couple feet of your bedside and angle it towards your torso. After a calibration and setup process, the sensor can catch movements at an incredibly precise level. Then Google's algorithm will analyze your motion and determine when you're asleep, restless, awake, and give you a report each morning so that you can choose to share that info with the Fit app to see how your sleep patterns work out over time. The Nest Hub also has a third mic compared to the previous model, which had two, and uses them to detect if you're coughing or snoring overnight. This is kind of wild. Like it's a snore microphone. So, okay. It'll quote, only turn the mic on when it senses you've fallen asleep, and the audio is processed locally and not sent out to the cloud. So don't worry. There's not going to be that Ukrainian farm of people, going through and checking off. Oh yeah, this guy was snoring. This is an actual snore. Nope, that's not a snore. That's something else. The display also has a new temperature sensor, which it uses in addition to the ambient light sensor to identify changes in the environment. And in the morning, you get a nice report on how you slept and if things like how cold or bright it was in the room affected the sleep. Of course, it's going to bring up privacy concerns. Not having a camera on the thing is kind of an interesting move. And just having this radar thing on, this is interesting because it's a different sensor than we're used to, and just having radar on there means that it's going to get different data, and it may be worth taking a look at. We'll link this article in the show notes here. But it may be worth taking a look at and seeing what it looks like. This data looks like that they get back, because it's just because it's not a picture, it does collect an immense amount of data. I mean, it may be more data than you're comfortable with. So keep in mind that just because it doesn't, maybe the camera may be the dumbest sensor that they have, I guess, is kind of where I'm going. That like they could do better. That Gavin's making some jokes and it's kind of cracking me up here. I get the same thing. Who needs Google? My wife tells me how I'm sleeping in real time. Jab means talking, kick means snoring. Yep, that's I have that, and every morning I get a summary about the night. So yeah. Yep. Definitely been there. Am there. I think a couple of new features on this as well. They upgraded the audio system, promising 50% more bass. So it's similar to the Nest Audio speaker that's out right now. Should be a little bit faster because the new processors that are built in. It's got Thread radio built in it. So this stuff is getting ready so we'll start seeing chip products released, I think in 2021. That's this year. Maybe I say that with a question mark because I don't know how COVID is going to affect. We know it's having all sorts of effects on everything else, but like, how is that going to affect the release cycle on these mainstream products? I haven't seen that yet, so we'll be curious. This thing's $100 though, and it's $50 less than the original. So that's a great price point actually for a nice Google screen with, summary and this decent feature of being able to process your do like sleep tracking without having to wear like an Apple Watch or a fitness band or something like that. Like, not a bad feature to include, especially for only $100. Pre-order it now if you need it. If you want it, it should arrive in stores March 30th. So as with all these things, I always recommend don't buy it now unless you absolutely have to have it. But, I'm sure this thing will be $50 come Black Friday. That's how those things go. So I'll link an article in here from Stacy Higginbotham too about she had a really good article about the implications of putting a Nest Hub in the bedroom. All the links and topic we discussed tonight can be found in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/343. Don't forget you can join us live in the chat room like Gavin and Greg have done tonight. Starting sometime between 7 and 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find out more how to do that at HomeTech.fm/live. And I've cut off the Facebook feed. It seems to be YouTube seems to be working the best for whatever reason. So I'm using YouTube. That's where we're going with that. I don't know what is going on with the camera though. Everything is all set up. I hit go. And now the camera's gone all wonky on me. That's what you get for doing it live, I guess. All right. I've got a great pick of the week here. It's called the Zoom Escaper. It lets you sabotage your own meetings with audio problems like crying babies, choppy audio, and more. So I'm sure we're all tired of being in Zoom meetings these days. And a developer has decided to take it into his own hands, and he's made this thing called the Zoom Escaper, and it basically injects dogs barking, upset a baby crying, echoing, distortion, all sorts of crazy things, construction sounds, and then you can emulate like a bad audio connection, with choppiness, and it's all got sliders on this stuff. So you have to see how this is. It also has a man weeping, which I thought was one of the funniest things that can have. You play that, and there's a guy crying in the background. So I don't know. This seems like a great idea for the right time. And it does take a little bit of setup or know-how to set this thing up, because you kind of have to feed your audio through it and then back out to Zoom. Not very hard to do. I do it all the time when we're doing the podcast here, but yeah. Easy way to get out of the Zoom environment. Easy way to get off a Zoom call is just to click that choppiness, poor connection, and say, "Oh, I'll have to catch you guys next time." Greg puts in the chat, needs a police drug raid. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'm being swatted right now, so yeah. Too good. So if you have any feedback, comments, questions, picks of the week, or any ideas for the show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@hometech.fm. You can visit the website at hometech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. And with that, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show and is continuing to support the show, especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about the Patreon page, head on over to hometech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and everybody can gather together and talk about all sorts of fun stuff in there. But also get you an invite to our new Zoom. I guess we're using Zoom right now, but it'll be our HomeTech Talk conversation. So any patron level, that'll get you in as well. So keep an eye on that. All that information gets posted over on Patreon. You probably get emails on it as soon as I post that stuff out. So looking forward to that tomorrow, and kind of reporting back on how it goes next week. So should be a fun time. If you want to help out on the show, but can't support the show financially, totally understand. We appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. And with that said, that's another week in home technology news. I want to thank everybody for hopping in the chat there and joining in. Still got camera problems. Every single scene, camera problems here. So Thanks everybody for joining in. I really do appreciate you guys helping out with the show and adding in your conversations as things go on. Next week I will have an interview, so that should be interesting, and we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping to have it be able to have it ready for the show, for the live show. So we should be able. I don't think the interview is going to be live, but it'll be ready for the live show and be able to watch and kind of chat along in the chat as it goes on live. So should be a good interview. I'm having Jack from over at PixelGen. They've got a new cool product that they teamed up with a company called Darby Vision, and it's a really neat 4K video processor that really just kind of like changes the game when it comes to what you can expect out of your display. So saw that they had released it, and it looks interesting. So we're going to talk with them about it and do a deep dive on it, and do some nerdy tech talk. If there's anybody that can talk nerdy tech talk around HDMI and 4K processing, it's going to be Jack over at PixelGen. So can't wait to chat with those guys next week. Thanks everybody again for joining us, and thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.